If you are a real estate agent or entrepreneur that wants to learn from some of the best and brightest minds on the planet, you are in the right place. Today, you're actually going to get somebody that coaches people globally and has a ton of knowledge when it comes to marketing and sales. And why did I say real estate agent and entrepreneur? Because everything is marketing and sales. And with me today is Janet Miller, somebody that I've worked with, the Prime team's worked with. She's a phenomenal person, very systematic with her approach to business. And I'm sure this conversation is going to dig into all things marketing, sales, productivity, time blocking, everything that you know will give you that freedom. You've probably felt like you're overwhelmed because you're always running around doing things when in reality you should be working on your business. So buckle up, jump in the comments, let us know who you are, what business you serve. And if you have any questions for Janet, this is the place to do it. We host the podcast live every Thursday, 1 to 2 p.m. We are on all audio platforms. It is free. So the only thing that we ask is that you share it with somebody that you think is also trying to grow their business. I see Olivier Maurice. Good morning. He is from Quebec. You should connect with Janet. He's an amazing commercial real estate broker in Quebec that has a specialty for selling churches for redevelopments. But we're going to get to the audience later. Janet Miller, welcome to the Prime People podcast.
Awesome. I want to know how many calories you just burnt doing that introduction, because that was a lot. That was a lot of energy, but that's who you are. That is your
superpower. I was going to say, like, if you don't know me, my energy's like being shot out of a cannon. But I get excited because I talk to people like you, and I get excited around practitioners because it allows me to sharpen my sword. Like, truthfully, I would do the podcast by myself on a phone call with you, but I record it to share the tips that I get from people like you around the world. And like I said, we've worked together for some time now, and you really come in from a zoom out perspective and look at like major components of people's businesses and help them find integration. So let's just start there. Like, what do you think are some of the major things people get wrong when building a business?
Well, there's definitely a pattern. I find that people, let's go to real estate. They think of it as a reactive business, right? We watch HGTV, we watch all those reality TV shows, and they make it look really easy. They make it look like the business is going to fall from the sky. The buyers and the sellers are going to come into your world. They're going to be ready, willing, and able to transact. But we know that is not the case. So I think where people get, it can be a shock, is that how hard you have to work to get this wheel in motion.
Right? I think that's a phenomenal answer, because people only see successful people, a decade, 20 years into their growth. Like, I've got the wall of champions behind me. Obviously, Ryan, I have a close relationship with from the mentorship side. People knew who he was like only after he had achieved success. They barely watched his journey until then. You see David Goggins and Marcus Philly and all these people that like they were flying under the radar, doing something consistently for long enough until they became an expert. And then everybody was like, congratulations on all your success after they did it. So I think, like, if you're an entrepreneur, somebody here, I see Goslin on LinkedIn. She's here. She says she has a coaching business or a real estate agent. What are the basic things that you think people really need to focus on early on to build the foundation of success?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Mindset is one of them for sure, right? Mm-hmm. This is not a complicated business, but it's not the easiest business. So having your morning routine and your evening routine and having a very structured approach to your day, so you're always operating from a growth mindset. Secondly is they need to know, it's like any business, right? You need to know your products. You need to know your inventory. Whether you're running a store or you're running a real estate business, you have to know what the products and services are that you're selling, what people need, all those types of things. And then you also have to know what the market's doing, right? Are we in a buyer's market? Are we in a seller's market? Is there too much supply? Is there too much demand? Like, what is going on? So once you know that, and then you got to focus on the relationships and get in front of people and deliver value. Like, if I had to dumb it down, that's really what it's all about. Right mindset, knowing the products, knowing the market, getting in front of people, delivering value, and repeat.
And I think all of those components refine over time, right? People come to us because of our market expertise, but that's something that, like, I can't say, well, I know the market, so now I don't need to learn anymore. I was looking at stats at like what's happening in Grand Bend, single family detached homes, stuff by the water, what's happening in the commercial real estate market for some of our projects down there, like the belly to belly stuff with my competition. Like, that enables me to go back to my clients and say, hey, I found out that this is what's happening on their site. They have somebody who's a fit for ours. That's what people come to me for. But I love the perspective of seeing coaches here and people who are outside of real estate, because if I go to a coach or a fitness trainer, I'm going there for a certain segment of expertise. I love also what you said about routines. So like, how are you strategically building out your ideal days and weeks to accomplish what you want to accomplish? But how would you address somebody who says, I failed and I didn't hit my morning routine or my nighttime routine? I think people deal with a lot of self-loathing when it comes to structure, so they avoid it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So progress over perfection. We're never going to hit perfection. And debrief every day. So you get to the end of the day and you say, I didn't hit my morning routine. I didn't make my phone calls, whatever it is. You're going to ask yourself 3 questions. What were my wins today? Because you've got to find something good in from every single day.
For sure.
Because then that's going to make you lean in to the good actions and reinforce them and do them more and more and more and more. What were my losses? I didn't make my phone calls. I didn't get that listing appointment. Whatever it is, just acknowledge the losses, but don't stay there. Just acknowledge it and just say, how can I improve? Right? So that's the way that you can always level up. And that actually comes from, that actually came from my son when he played rugby. That's what the coach would say to the guys in the locker room after each match, right? Wins, losses, how can we improve? He wasn't focused on the score. He was focused on the habits and the behaviors, because he knew that if they strengthened the wins and learned from the losses, then over time, the performance would keep improving.
Yeah. And I think from a macro perspective, there's people that are worried about winning the game, winning the listing against their competitor, and they're so focused on the one thing. They're not thinking about the overall, like the journey, right? Do you want to win the battle or do you want to win the war? I was at a groundbreaking ceremony this morning and somebody came up to me and mentioned a competitor. And I simply said to him, I said, oh, I'm not in the same business as that guy. Like, I'm aware of him, aware how he operates, but I'm so focused on what we're building and laser focused on that I'm not distracted by the individual battles that happen, because I know that we have objectives that we're trying to reach and we're trying to stay focused on that path. But to people that don't have a team, that maybe don't have an organization and they're just getting started, how do you not get caught in the comparison trap and always worrying about your competition and stay focused on your own growth journey?
So first of all, you have to have your own goals, right? You've got to be really clear on, from your business, what's the long-term vision of what you're building? What do you want 10 years out, 3 years out, 1 year out? And then what do you want to accomplish in the next 90 days? And yes, there's competition, but think of the competition is they're just going to level you up. Like, what are you learning from them? What are they doing that you thought, you know what, I'm going to rip off and duplicate and make that better? Or what are they doing that you think, you know what, that is not my style at all. Yeah. Right. And thank you for being so out there with your style, because I know that the client that's attracted to that type of agent is not going to be attracted to me. And there's enough business for all of us. You have to put yourself out there in terms of what your offering is. So yeah, I wouldn't get involved in the comparison trap. I would just use it to create the awareness of, ooh, that's a good idea. I'm going to rip off and duplicate that and make it my own, or I'm definitely not going to do that.
That's so bang on. And again, if I can think of high-end luxury clothing brands, high-end hotels, I can think of real estate agents. Everybody's scared about talking about commission and price. And I always say, I'm like, I'm happy there's a million business models, because somebody that doesn't value a high value service like we offer, I would rather dequalify them with my content and tell them I'm not a discount broker because of how much I spend on the systems and operations, but our net effective result yields much higher value sales. So if you care about your net effective, great, we can have a conversation. If we can't even have that conversation, there's a business model out there for you. And there's people that will appreciate the discount model. It's not a plus or a minus. It just is. Now, right. You work with people globally. You must see patterns emerging between the market leaders, right? Like the people that you see doing the bulk of the business in our industry is a very small percentage of the overall agents. What are the personality traits or characteristics that you think compose these people that people can look for?
Okay, so the ones who are leading, like, are real leaders in the business?
The killers, the ones that are operating like really good margin businesses, taking market share, the ones who people should be following that maybe aren't influencers per se, right. But absolutely killing it.
Okay. So if you had a one-on-one chat with them, you would realize that they had a really clear vision of what they were building. They're not just in the day-to-day operations of the business. They are strategically on a journey of what they're building, 1, 3, and 10 years out. That's one characteristic. The second thing is they know they can't do it all, right? They have support in place. And this is what I see a lot when agents come into coaching. They've had great success getting to a certain point, but then they're stuck, right? And they're either about to burn out or they just can't take on any more business. So the ones who are killing it are the ones that have the right support, who have let go of control and they've had other people support them in their journey. You've done a great job of that, right? You're not doing it all. You've got a whole team around you to help you to where you want to go. So it's support. And then the other thing I see is that they've got the systems in place, right? And this is a struggle for some of the leaders in the beginning. They've got the systems, but the systems are all up here in the brain.
For sure. Nobody can do it like me.
But you can't delegate if your operations manual is your memory. And it's also not the highest and best use of your brain power. So the ones that take those checklists, those processes, get them documented in a project management tool, in their CRM, even if it's a Google Doc or an Excel spreadsheet, you know what? They've got it step by step listed out. So when they're on vacation or they've got so much business that they can delegate it to other people, because you can hire the right people, but if you can't delegate it out, if you don't have the systems in place, you can't delegate it out. Right?
Have you read this?
No, but it's on my list.
It's my gift to you. So every Part on People podcast I gift a book. Do you want audio or paperback?
I am an Audible girl.
Okay. So I just, for the audio listeners that are millions of people across the globe, not yet, but getting there. Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. So I was gifted this book actually, and I was listening to the audiobook, and it speaks to everything you're talking about. And it's funny, as an entrepreneur, I can share in my past, I hired 4 positions thinking, oh, I need a receptionist. Oh, I need a photographer. Oh, I need this. When in reality, I needed to start thinking of hiring to buy back my time, not hiring for a position. The other thing that you said that was such an absolute killer point was systems instead of people. Because if I hire people and my entire company is built on training those people, when they outgrow the position, which I hope they do, and I give them another growth opportunity in the brokerage, what's going to happen to that position? I'm going to have to retrain for the entire position, versus if I build it as a checklist for the person to follow, when it's time for them to transition and somebody else takes over that role, the person just takes over the system. They don't take over the person, which is such a game changer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we talked about support, we talked about systems, we talked about vision. And then the other characteristic I see, and this is very much aligned with who you are, is growth mindset. Like you get to a level, you master that, and then it's okay, what's next? Yeah. Right? Whether it's in personal development or, diversified skills for the team or other services that you're offering, there's always a growth.
I feel like I'm just getting started. That's why, like, you say all these nice things and I appreciate it, but like being candid, like these are all things that like I shared with you even before we went live. I'm like, I need to solve for this, but I think even saying it outwardly then makes it a locus of focus. And then, you talking through, I do want to go through vision, support systems, and growth mindset. Those are all things that I will ask myself after this call. Like, do I have a clear 1, 3, and 10-year vision? I think I do. But then Shannon and I will work on that and say, what's the vision for our business? What's the vision for Prime as a overall brand, the real estate brokerage, the media company? And if we don't have that conversation, then we're just falling forward like so many entrepreneurs are, feeling busy because we're checking emails, going on appointments and making money, but we're not actually going to become wealthy because we're not going to grow. We're just going to be stuck in this perpetual cycle. Have you seen people never break out of that cycle?
Yes. Yeah.
And why do you think they can't see past that cycle that they're in?
It's they're afraid of losing control, right? You said it earlier. Oh, no one can do it better than I can, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so they're afraid to let go of control. They're so busy. They've got so much business to deal with. They can't slow down to speed up.
For sure.
Right. And so there's like, okay, I hire these people. I don't have the time to train them.
Yep.
Right. Or they hire someone, the person they hire is phenomenal, and that person like figures it out on their own. And then that person says, see ya, I'm on to the next thing. And just like you've said, then that agent or that team leader is at the starting point again, because they're like, I don't know what that last assistant or that last person was doing on my team. We got to start all over.
Yeah. And I think so. If you are going to go back to day one with those people, it's the documenting and the systems, right? That piece, so that they have the ability. And it's tricky though, because when you're creating systems and SOPs and documents, like you'll create an SOP in our world for launching a new listing, and you're always adding and removing components. And you can do a training video, and that training video is out of date in 6 months. What are some best practices in terms of building systems that you've learned?
Just write it down. I think people get freaked out when we say, write SOPs, write standard operating procedures. It's like, you don't have to write the whole book at once.
Mm-hmm.
What if at the end of every day, you just reflected 10 to 15 minutes? What did I do today? And then just document this.
Yeah.
Like back when I started as a coach, and a lot of my agents were solo agents and they hadn't hired their first assistant yet, but they would come on a coaching call and they'd say, I think I might need an assistant. I'm like, the minute you say that, that means you do. And so what you want to start doing at the end of every day is just write down, like, what did I do today? That's not the highest and best use of my time if I'm going to grow this business.
Yeah.
Right. What could I delegate? Just write it down. And over time, you're going to build it up. And yeah, eventually you're going to build it all out in Asana or Monday or ClickUp or in your follow-up boss or like whatever your systems are. But don't worry about that right away. Just get it documented, get it on a Google Doc, get it on an Excel spreadsheet, so you have it and you have it documented.
Yeah, I think it's a great piece of advice. One of the biggest mistakes I made was not starting that Google document early on. We started, I think, around 2015 when Prime really became Prime. And it was a Google document, and it was Prime's operation manual. I remember typing in the names of like the employees at the time. And since that's changed, and now it's the positions, because it doesn't really matter who the employee is, it's what's the position. And then it's the daily activities of that person, the weekly activities of that person, the monthly activities of that person. And then there's sub lists between all of those. And what I find is the highest dollar producing activities, those are the ones we review more so than not. Things like, say, an agent onboarding plan, we review maybe once a quarter. As we onboard new agents, we look and, is this optimized? Oh, nope, got to delete this, got to add this. But that's the answer that I wanted you to give, because I know from your depth of experience, you're solving for two things that the viewers really struggle with. And one is that idea of perfection, that it does not exist. Like all of the people you coach, from people that make multi-million dollars, the perfect day, it exists on paper, but rarely is somebody going to hit that 100% of the time. So you've already addressed that. The second piece is people feeling like they don't have a serious enough business to treat it like a serious business. I think you're giving a structure that makes a lot of sense. I want to go back to a key thing that you said and extrapolate maybe a mini course. We don't have enough time to do like the full in-depth course, I'm sure, today, but you said vision. Can you explain to somebody watching this how they could get a clear picture of what their 1, 3, 10-year vision could be today for the business that they have in the future?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So in its simplest form, just write down, imagine what if, right? So you're going to separate it into your business and into your life. Sorry. Yeah. Your business and then your personal life. So when you think about your business, and you're thinking, like, just imagine what if, like, what does it look like? Like, what do people say about your business? Like, what would your Google reviews say? What's the volume of the business you're doing? Where is your business located? What are you known for? What are you a specialist in, right? Mm-hmm. And then as you get closer back in time and you're looking maybe 1 year out, think about 6 areas of your business. Like, think about the leadership. Like, how do you operate as a leader? Then think about your finances. Like, think about the systems you need in place. who you need to help you manage the finances, how are you tracking and measuring your expenses. Then think about sales, right? What does the sales journey look like? What is the buyer journey? What does the seller journey look like? Marketing, what's your strategy for print, for digital? Who do you have doing the assets? What's the content strategy? Operations, how you're running the business day to day. And then people, who's doing what? And it doesn't have to be perfect, but just honestly take a blank notebook and start sketching out, right? And then it's going to start to all come together, right? Don't worry about the step-by-step how, just have the vision, right? It's kind of like building a house, right? You don't have to know what nails to put in, what board and what tools to use right now.
Yeah.
You're not even going to do it. You're going to hire the right people. But you got to have a vision of what the house is going to look like. Is it going to be 2 stories? Is it going to be 3 stories? Is it going to have a front porch? Is it going to have a nice backyard? Are the bedrooms going to be all upstairs or going to be some up and some down? Right? It's just the vision. And then for your life, and this, to me, this is something that people miss. They get really caught up on the vision of the business, but you got to have the vision for your life. Like, what do you want your health to be like? What do you want? Do you have wealth and contribution goals? Like maybe there's a charity that you want to donate to. What do you want your savings account to look like? What do you want your investment account to look like? Right? How do you want to grow as a person? What do you want to learn? What are your hobbies you want to do? Where do you want to travel? It's just getting that all out in paper. That's where it starts.
Well, we just got back from little getaway with my wife and I. We do this on our anniversary, and we actually talk business and shop, and giving people an idea of what that looks like in practice. Muskoka is where we were for a week, and we always go up to Muskoka typically 2 or 3 times a year. I know a lot of things about the real estate area up there. I'm getting off-market deals, some development deals. There was a multifamily property I looked at. We do lots of referral business. So if I was a brand new agent and I was like, I'm going to go to Muskoka and work, my 1-year goal may be something along the lines of I'm going to sell a bunch of houses in Bala, right? And I'm going to be known in Bala as an agent that's in production. My 3-year goal may be like, no, I'm going to expand. Then I'll be in Port Carling, and I'll be in Gravenhurst and Bracebridge and some of the other areas. And my 10-year goal is I'm going to be spending half of my time in the area I live in, half of my time in that area. And maybe I have a satellite office in there. And then as the brand new agent, I'm the person that does everything. Like I'm the guy with my iPhone doing the paperwork, taking the photos, doing everything I need to do. And then when I have money, I can hire my photographer. And then when I have enough money, I can hire another assistant and an agent. And
that's exactly it.
This is what you're describing. I do think it starts with that life integration piece, though, because then I would sit down with Shannon, and at the phase in life we're in now, we have a lot of referral partners all over the world. I just did a deal in Miami. We did one in the UK, another in Texas, again, Muskoka. So we start really thinking about, well, in a year, because a year goes by really fast, where are we going to be spending our time, and where can we really build stacking things where like I'm fly fishing and doing business and eating really good food. And it is a holistic lifestyle, but it does take effort. And I can tell you for the first 10 years, it did not feel like that. The support piece I was really missing. I still feel like there's a few key components I need to integrate into our business from a support perspective. Where do you think that bridge is that people should be crossing earlier on when it comes to just letting things go? Because again, if I have clients watching this, they want me to be eyes on everything, and I have systems and people, and I've built a system for that. But I still think people have a really hard time letting go of control because they feel like their clients are going to think that they're not on it. So like, how would you advise somebody on the client side or the agent side to let go so they can focus on their most dollar producing activities for their clients?
Okay. So I'm going to tackle it in 2 ways. So the first thing I'll say to you is we talked about crafting that vision, but you know what a lot of people do? They write the vision and then they put it away and they never look at it again. Mm-hmm. One of the most powerful exercises I do is on January 1st every year, I write a letter to myself. Dear Janet, it's December 31st, 2023. What a year it's been. And I tell myself all the things that happened in 2023 about all those categories we just talked about. And I used to write that letter and put it away, and then I'd get to the end of the year and I'd open it up and I'd be like, oh, I kind of did that. Yeah, I guess I did that. Oh, I didn't do that. Oh, I didn't do that. Oh, I did that. I changed it the past 2 years. And now I read that letter to myself every Sunday night before I start my week. Guess what's happened? My level of execution on all those goals has gone way up. And it's simply because it's top of mind. So that's one tactic I would take, is don't write your vision and put it away. Have it in front of you and read it and remind yourself of it, because it's going to make you better at your follow-up. It's going to keep you focused and it's going to keep you on track, right? So that's the big picture thinking. The items that agents need to do right away is just think about what did I do today that really isn't just the highest and best use of my time. And where people get caught up is they think, well, yeah, no, I can do it. I'm really good at transaction management. It doesn't take a lot of time. I can do it. I don't need to hire somebody. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that you're the best person for the job. I see that a lot.
Yeah,
right?
no, transaction coordination. I mean, people should not be doing their own TC, even like booking showings and doing all that. Like the call to the agent to discuss maybe, things about the property that they may not know and incentivize the sale. That is a high and good use of time, because you're networking, you're creating energy behind the sale, but actually going through the physical access code. Here's this, here's this, here's this. I should be prospecting for my clients. And I'm not sure, like, part of the reason I asked the question is I hope if the clients are watching, they understand that that's why that's in place, because I need to be thinking of how do I get energy behind the sale to achieve the sale, not necessarily digging the hole and planting the tree, right?
Yeah. I know a metaphor you and I have talked about was, let's say you have to go to a surgeon to get your knee operated on, right? You don't get upset if when you walk into the office and there's someone that's at reception taking your medical information, taking your card, you've got someone else, there's an x-ray technician and there's someone who takes your blood and does all the pre-work. So then when you get into the room, the consultation is with the surgeon and the conversation is focused on how long have you had this problem? What makes it better? What makes it worse? Here's the treatment plan. Here's how I'm going to help you. And here's how my team is going to help you so you can walk, run, and ski again, pain-free. You don't go, oh, I can't believe he had someone else take my blood. No, it's like, wow, not only do I have the surgeon, but I have this whole other team of people supporting me. And so as an agent and as the team leader, that's the mindset that you have to get into.
Yeah.
Right? Because do you agree that some agents get, oh my God, but they've hired me. And I'm worried that, like, if I pass them off to that person, they're going to think I'm not taking care of them.
They're too busy in the business, right? And I think where it comes from is they didn't set expectations. So like when I got my hip done in December, I read it over and over because it was a major surgery. And I was like, oh, okay, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go meet Maria, and then I'm going to meet the anesthesiologist and blah, blah, blah. And there's zero problems, zero expectations. I saw the surgeon 3 times and I knew when I was going to see him and what those conversations were going to look like. Again, and I've talked to clients about this belly to belly, and I've told them flat out, some of them, especially that know me really well, they know I'm on it. But I'm like, the one thing that I'm probably going to drop the ball on is telling you what I'm doing, because you need to trust that I'm doing it. That comes from me not sending you an outline of, hey, great that we signed the contract. This is what happens next. Had I sent that email, they would know that when an open house happens, Adnan's going to show up with the topper on, put the signs out, do this, 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 and this. But when I don't tell them what's going to happen and they see somebody show up and they don't know who the person is, and it feels disjointed and disorganized. So we are constantly working at, okay, how can I prep my clients so they know what's happening, so that they understand that we're on it, because we are on it. If I showed you our checklist and what happens pre-listing, listing, post-listing, I know we bring more value just based on our results. But where I'm at in my business, Janet, is exactly what you're talking about is, okay, now you just got to prep your people for what's going to happen. And I think that solves for a lot of what we're talking about, right?
Right. And you used one of the most powerful phrases. It's a 3-word phrase. What happens next?
Yeah.
Every milestone of that transaction with your buyer and seller, make sure that you incorporate that into your email, into your conversation. What happens next? Right? That is the best way to help manage expectations.
100%. I mean, we could talk for hours about this topic alone in terms of pre-negotiation, negotiation, pre-listing, listing, under contract. But what I'll highlight is I recently had Kim Heisman on. She came on to a team call to talk about building a referral network. She's from the Okanagan, sent her referral. She crushed it. What was very interesting, and I mean, we send out a lot of referrals. If you're watching the Prime People podcast or listening, you need an agent anywhere on the planet, hit me up. I will connect you with awesome people. She was somebody, and again, the reason I say volume is when I sent it to her, check this out. She went and showed properties. She said, hey, we went and saw properties. I got an email from her. I thought it was from her. It was actually from her assistant. And then we went under contract. I got another email that seemed like it was from her. It was from her team. And it's like, hey, we just went under contract. Hey, we just did the inspection and it firmed up. Hey, we just closed today. I want to let you know your check's coming. I'm telling you, out of the hundreds of referrals we've sent out, she's the only person that actually sends that out. And I can tell you, like, the value of that from my perspective is absolutely bonkers.
Does that not want to make you want to send her more referrals because you know she's on it and that she's giving 5-star service?
100%. Yeah. Wild in terms of value. Actually, Christina Smallhorn's on the live stream. You should connect with her. She has an awesome YouTube channel. What's up, Christina? Thank you for being here. And I'm sure she does the same thing, right? Like, the value of setting expectations and what happens next completely changes my energy towards my interaction with her as a professional.
Yeah. So for the agents out there, if you don't have an SOP yet for agent referrals, you need to write one. And there should be at least a 3-point connection, right? So, hey, thanks for the introduction. We've connected. Here's what happens next. We're going out to look at properties. Number 2, hey, we're under contract. Thank you so much. We secured a great property. I'm so excited for that client. Touch point number 3, hey, look who just got the keys to their new property. Thank you so much. That is going to get you more referrals.
It takes so little to stand out, right? It really does. Olivier Maurice had a question, actually. He, going back to the vision setting, he said only once a year. Why not every quarter? I actually have something on this as well, but what is your response to that?
Oh, absolutely. So you do your 1-year vision, but then you write 90-day plans. You know me, I'm obsessed with doing the 90-day plans, right? So the last week of every quarter, you're going to look at what you've accomplished so far and then where you want to be in the next 90-day cycle. So at the end of June, every one of my coaching clients, we looked at their progress so far and we're like, okay, this is where we're at. Where do we want to be in 90 days? And it's also from the perspective of, we look at it in 2 ways. We look at, okay, based on our results, right? Our closed production, our pending production, and our listing appointments or buyer consultations, how are we doing? And where do we need to be in the next 90 days? And then also, what are the adjustments we need to make in our business to level up our business in the next 90 days? Hey, based on the fact we said, hey, we wanted to, fine tune our onboarding process. Like, is that what we're going to work on the next 90 days? Maybe who do we need to hire in the next 90 days? Right. So you have your milestones that you want to reach, and then you review that at the beginning of every week. So I'm glad he asked that.
I love that. And Christina Smallhorn says she loves how Canadians say progress. Y'all say it better. Thank you, Christina. I appreciate you.
Oh, yeah. So, progress?
What I say it that way as well too. I'm actually going to share, this is her real estate YouTube mastermind. I don't plug anything on the show, but actually this is one of the best YouTube Facebook groups I've ever seen. Christine is like a real practitioner. She's worked with Dare Leaves and some amazing people. She's helped me with thumbnails. So write this down, Janet. I know you know a lot of people that would appreciate that. So yeah, take a quick screenshot. Everybody go to this page, join the group if you like YouTube. No spamming or spitching in that group. She runs a tight ship, but awesome. Appreciate you for being here as always, Christina. And yeah, back to Olivier Maurice's question. Another question I guess I'd have for you is, like, I found I'll set my goals for the year and they change. So like I'll go to my 90-year goals and I'll look at like what I thought I wanted to do in a year and realize, last year, for example, I'm like, I want to speak on all these stages. And then like all these opportunities came up and I'm like, my time with my family is so important. I'm working on the foundation of Prime 6.0. I actually don't want to speak. I actually turned down a lot of speaking engagements. I couldn't do it. There was one that I was supposed to go to that I had a family emergency, but like I actually said no to like 99% of them. And I changed my goal. Have you found people changing their goal mid-year be helpful, or how do you approach something where you had a goal and you're like, well, actually, I don't want to do that anymore?
Okay. So it depends what the situation is. So let's say it's about production, right? Let's say it's about where you want to be in terms of number of listings and number of buyer transactions. Before we change the goal, before we change the number, before we blame the market, before we say, oh, we can't do it, we got to look at our habits, right? Because sometimes the goal isn't reached because you just don't have the right habits in place. A lot of times I've like looked at people's business plans and they've said they want to hit a certain target, a certain number of leads that they generate from their open houses. And they're like, oh, well, it's not working. I'm not getting business from my open houses. Well, then we dig deeper and we're like, well, how many open houses are you doing a month?
Yeah.
What are you doing when you're at the open houses? So it might not.
How many signs do you put out? Like, what do you do before? Yep.
Like, what do you say to people when they come in the open house? So before we change a goal, let's look at, is it really the goal you need to change or is it the habit, right? So that's one scenario. But the other scenario that you're saying is, hey, I set a goal, but then I realized it doesn't align with my personal vision.
Sure.
That's totally different. And in that case, I think it's totally okay because you set one goal for one part of your business, but it's interfering with your ability to reach goals in other areas of your life, right? So it's interfering with your ability, maybe with your health goals, maybe with your family goals. So it's just a recalibrating, right?
Yeah.
So it's like there's two different kinds of goal adjustments depending on what kind of goal it is and depending on what the situation is.
Yeah. And I think sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? Like maybe you're not somebody that should be doing open houses because that's not something you love to do. Andy C, mutual friend of ours, crushes open houses, has no social media and doesn't care and does very, very good doing open houses. And that's his thing. I think using Christine as a case study as well, her story when she started on YouTube is she was doing one types of videos and she could say that she thinks she doesn't have great habits, but at the end of the day, she was maybe just doing the wrong thing to get to the goal. But it's this constant refining of what type of life do you want to live? What type of work do you need to do to live that life? And once you start achieving it, is that the life you actually want to live? And I think sometimes people get stuck in the comparison trap again, like we spoke about, thinking they want to be a successful agent or they want to be a successful YouTuber versus why don't you just try and be a really good version of yourself and let those things stack onto how you live your life and not define you. Because I think too many people think, well, once I get on stage and I become an influencer or this, then I'll be happy. And I've seen lots of miserable influencers and people that make no money and have bad margin business. And I know lots of people that are very happy flying under the radar with massive businesses. So I guess as my last question, how do you really help people find themselves through what you do in your business?
It's just about asking the right questions. And again, it goes back to vision. I think we get, you talked about comparison before. I think we get caught up sometimes in, oh, I've got to be unbelievable at YouTube. Oh, I've got to be unbelievable at cold calling. I've got to be it's finding out what do you love doing? Like this is a relationship business and business is math, numbers are the language of business. So you have to talk to people, but let's figure out the path of how you're going to get in front of people and have conversations with people and then have that deliver value and lead to consultations, which is going to lead to business. Right. So it's just a matter of looking at what really energizes you. And that's the really great thing about this business. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like exercise. If I went to the doctor and he said, okay, you've got to lose X number of pounds. I want you to run 5 miles a day. That is never going to happen with me. I do not like running, but I will go hiking. I will do yoga. I will do Pilates. I'll play squash. I'll go skiing. I'll do biking, all those other things. But the way you get success is you're so consistent with burning the calories. And that's what I want people to remember is like, let's figure out what it is you do that really energizes you, that you can be consistent at, that gets you to talk to people. You got to study the market. You got to study the properties. You got to know all that. You got to be skilled at having the right scripts to talk to people. But the way you talk to people can vary depending on what you're really good at and what you love doing.
Yeah. And I think the more you are actually yourself, the more you're going to be drawn to the right people and not find yourself living a life that you feel overwhelmed by. There's a guy that joined our team recently, and he's in the agricultural space already. Very much somebody that enjoys hunting and fishing. And like, I'm like, go hunting and fishing. Like that, the more you can do the stuff that you love, the more you're actually going to draw in people that are in that space and build a business doing it. No different than a painter, an artist, a musician, a photographer, a YouTuber, a real estate agent. I do genuinely think with technology these days, the more you become an expert at your craft, we have more tools and technology to really draw in people that are in our similar type of ecosystem and we get to do business with them and make money at a high level that we've never seen before, from, you know, our grandparents' generations and our parents' generations, where you literally had to be let in by a gatekeeper to even make remotely what people can make. But you brought up a great point. It is the consistency over time that I see as the successful characteristic of everybody that I admire. Couple rapid fire questions, and I'm going to get you out of here because I know you are very on point with your time. My first rapid fire question, I love asking all my guests this, is how has failure shaped your life?
Failure makes you stand up again and just get going. And it just makes you better at what you do. And you just have to shift your mindset and say, this is just like first attempt in learning, right? That's what the acronym stands for. Fail, first attempt in learning.
What would you tell Janet Miller if she was just day one in the career that she's in now?
Talk to people. Don't wait for your marketing to be perfect before you get in front of people. Talk to people, study the product, study the market, deliver value. The marketing will come.
And what are you learning that excites you right now?
Oh, AI is interesting.
It is,
right? How to leverage AI, but how to pair that with HI, right? With human intelligence.
HI, that's the first time I've heard that term. That's a pretty interesting one.
Right. And I mean, I'm just a lifelong learner, right? I'm always reading, I'm always learning, I'm always leveling up. I always think that books on leadership and lessons on leadership, you can never get enough of those.
What's wild is actually I was doing this with AI recently. I think people that have operations manuals, you can actually have a conversation with AI and be like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. Here's portions of my operation manual. Here's the team splits that I have, the contracts. How do I optimize this for this business model? And it's fascinating because stuff that would take you or I an entire day, 3-day retreat talking to 57 different people, we could actually get like 7 different iterations of business models within seconds. And really build the human intelligence version of a business that we would have never thought about, which is pretty wild.
What I'm learning is AI is just kind of like a really good therapist, right? Like like a reverse therapist, if you ask the right questions, it's going to help get you unstuck and it's going to get you moving forward in your business. So it's all about asking it the right questions.
For sure. I'm actually going to have an in-depth conversation with it this afternoon with something I mentioned to my wife. But we're so close to our business, I actually want a third party to just take the problem that we're looking to solve and create some solutions for us. I believe it is Christina Smallhorn. She says it is her personal assistant. I like that. It is mine as well. It probably saves a lot of time. So the most important question, given you made time for the Prime Nation, if you were standing at the top of one Prime Nation plaza, speaking to the entire planet, you had one message for my audience, what would that message be?
Go for it. Like, go for it. Like, don't be afraid. If there's a voice in your head saying, maybe you should possibly do this, take the first step forward. That's how you're going to know if you're meant to continue on the journey.
I love it. Nothing happens without that first step. And fun fact, we're all going to fall down. So keep taking steps, get back up, find people like Janet Miller, get them in your ecosystem. Please connect with her on all the platforms. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, please rate and review it. Share it with somebody that you think may appreciate it. If you're on the live YouTube, make sure to hit subscribe and notification so you don't miss the opportunity to collab with people like Janet, Christina Smallhorn, who's been on the podcast, and many, many other future guests. I'm sure this won't be the last one that you and I do, Janet, but I appreciate you for being here.
It was awesome. Thanks so much.
Catch you next time. Take care.
Okay, bye.